I really appreciate each of you lending an ear for a few minutes, and Elizabeth's introduction was so compelling in describing DonorsChoose.org that I feel like I don't need to give you the origin story of our site or tell you how it works or give you any kind of pitch on the organization. I figure what might be a little more fun is if I were to share the inside story of a donation that we received about a month and a half ago that was the largest donation of cryptocurrency ever made to a single charity. I want to share the story with you because hopefully it might get some of the nonprofits in the room thinking about how sometimes it's worth going for a moonshot and telling a great story, and because some of the brands and foundations in the room might be spurred to think about how major gifts can often mobilize small giving at huge scale. So I'll give you that inside story. Started only last January when a colleague of mine, Ali, who's in the room, flagged a company called Ripple that had been experiencing real success. They're a blockchain company that focuses on making international payments simpler and more efficient. They use a cryptocurrency called XRP to help fuel that system. They had really been growing. Seemed like their founder might have some resources to be philanthropic. And we flagged them. And the normal thing for me to do, to have done, would have been to send an email to the founder and CEO. I saw that I knew the CEO from his sister actually being a great friend to DonorsChoose.org over the years. And so what I should have probably done was sent an email asking for coffee and planned to go into that coffee with an idea maybe for something that would involve $1 million of giving to classroom projects on our site. That would have been the standard thing to do. But at this time, DonorsChoose.org wasn't growing at quite the rate that we wanted it to grow. The number of students and teachers that we were serving was growing, but not as steeply as we wanted. And I knew that a single $1 million gift wouldn't get us to quite the level of growth that we were going for. So I did something different. I wrote an email to the founder and CEO sharing what had happened a couple years ago when Stephen Colbert, one of our board members, broke into our annual gathering and announced the funding of every single classroom project in his home state of South Carolina. When he did that, students and teachers started pouring into the hallways of South Carolina public schools and celebrating this incredible moment of joy when every single teacher's classroom dream came true in South Carolina. And I had gotten an email from the co-founders of Twitter after Stephen Colbert had done this saying that they wanted to follow suit and fund all the classroom projects in their home cities and states. Jack Dorsey committing to fund all the classroom projects in Missouri, Biz Stone in Boston, Ev Williams in Nebraska. And when they sent this email saying they wanted to follow Stephen Colbert's example, I asked them to hold that thought, keep it quiet, and we would see if other people might want to join them. And other people did want to join them. Serena Williams funded all the classroom projects in Compton. Samuel Jackson funded all the classroom projects in Chattanooga. Elon Musk covered all the classroom projects in the public schools surrounding SpaceX and Tesla facilities. And we grouped these donations. We kept them a secret until one day, 2 years ago, that we called Best School Day, where we unleashed these donations all at once. And as I said in the email to the founder and the CEO of Ripple, that day 2 years ago, Best School Day, was pretty incredible. But it only covered about 45% of the country. Teachers and students in more than half of America were kind of left on the sidelines, maybe feeling kind of wistful that they did not have a hometown hero to fulfill all the classroom project requests in their city or state. And I said that if Ripple wanted to take this concept of a best school day to its very apex, they could fund all 36,000 classroom project requests that were live on our site at that moment, which would require a donation of $29 million. So I put that all just in an email to them. And I had never met the founder. I had never met the person that I was addressing this email to, and given the scale of the ask and the ridiculousness of the pitch, which I acknowledged. I ended the email by saying, I know that this is an absurd ask and is probably something you cannot even financially consider. I just know that 1 million students and teachers would want me to go for it. Because if all 36,000 classroom requests on our site were fully funded, it would in fact be more than 1 million students whose school lives would be enriched. Gave myself a 1 in 10,000 chance of even getting a reply on this email. But 24 hours later, I got a reply, and it was the CEO of Ripple saying, "Color me intrigued. Can you come out to San Francisco and meet with us?" I was like, funny, I'm actually already on a plane. And yes, I think I can come out to San Francisco and meet with you. Of course, that night, I didn't sleep for more than like 5 minutes because I was just like so fired up with adrenaline, even though I knew that my chances were still must be like incredibly low. Long story short, I met with Chris Larsen and Brad Garlinghouse, founder and CEO of Ripple, the next week. And a few days later, I got a phone call saying that they wanted to go for it. They wanted to do it. Thank you. And then ensued a feat of logistics and secrecy and converting XRP into US dollars that we never imagined we would embark upon. Secrecy was of the utmost importance because if a single teacher got wind of anything going on, word would immediately spread to thousands of public school teachers. And those 36,000 projects costing $29 million would be 60,000 projects costing $50 million. And I could not go back saying, whoops, we miscalculated, there's been an explosion of projects. So we had to keep it entirely secret. And in fact, our very database architecture had never contemplated a single donation fulfilling every single classroom project in one single instant. So therefore, we had to, in addition to keeping it totally secret, we had to take down our website. On the big day, on March 27th at 3 p.m., we had to take down our website. And that wasn't for purposes of building drama and suspense. It was because technically we were incapable of handling this donation if we were also servicing teachers, creating projects, and donors giving the projects. So we brought the site down. And Stephen Colbert was over the moon excited about what was happening and where this Best School Day concept had gone. So we were able to tell our teachers, we've brought the site down. We can't tell you why, but tonight watch The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And these are some of the reactions that we got from teachers when we were told, we can't tell you why, just watch The Late Show with Colbert tonight. Teachers started wondering, they started exclaiming, they became very frustrated, sort of kind of eaten up with curiosity. And that night on The Late Show, Stephen Colbert announced this $29 million donation fulfilling every single teacher's classroom dream in one single instant, bringing Best School Day to its fullest fruition. And one thing that was really exciting to us was to see that the low production value video that I shot with Monica Long, who's the head of marketing and communications for Ripple. We shot a low production value video in Ripple's office explaining why Ripple had made this commitment, why they so valued teachers, and that kind of internal video got as many views within Facebook as Stephen Colbert's Late Show clip, and actually the kind of Ripple internal announcement got twice as many shares and comments as Stephen Colbert's announcement. I think because teachers and students wanted to learn about the company that had been so generous and wanted to dig in and find out what had inspired this brand, this company, to make this gift. Here is just a sampling of the social media posts, 22,000 that teachers posted on the site. You can see one teacher saying that scholars, our new vocabulary word today is Ripple, as you can imagine. Here are some of the, just a tiny, tiny fraction of teachers' reactions on social media. Just one that I'm going to read is from a teacher who said, "I didn't have any projects up and still can't sleep, as I'm beyond excited about such a great investment for our schools." So there were all these teachers who were nearly as thrilled as the teachers whose classroom projects were being funded. Celebrities got hugely excited as well. As you can see here, everyone from Jon Favreau, the Pod Save America co-founder and Obama speechwriter, to Ashton Kutcher, to Elvis Duran, the radio disc jockey, just all these folks wanted to applaud what Ripple had done. And here's the statistic that I think is most exciting. 1 in 6 of all the public schools in America can point to books, art supplies, butterfly cocoons, robotics kits, a field trip delivered to their school by this one single donation. It's why I was able to say with Ripple, oh, thank you. Thank you. Two superlatives that I feel like are actually truthful. One being that there was never a day when more classroom dreams came to life than that day. And I think it might also be fair to say that their donation created more happiness for more people than any donation in recent memory. I want to share just a few more statistics with you that are just kind of fun. 600 of the 28,000 public schools, 600 of the 18,000 public schools reached by their donation had never before seen a project funded through our site. 8,000 teachers of the 28,000 teachers funded that day had never before had a project funded through our site. 71,000 books were delivered on that day, the most popular of them being Wonder, which if you've seen the movie, you'd probably not be surprised. Flexible seating, 9,000 instances of a wobble stool or an exercise ball or a bean bag or a reading nook from teachers who want their students to be able to express their physical energy while learning and pay better attention that way. Here's just a note from one of them. There were also nearly 8,000 instances of teachers wanting their students to have jackets if they were coming to school cold, nutritious snacks if they were coming to school hungry, hygiene items, prescription eyewear if they lacked those resources. We call these projects life essentials because it's where a teacher will say, here is a fundamental need that my students have, which is preventing them from learning and which I want to deliver to my students. Here we go. And there's just a comment from one of those teachers who had gotten funding for deodorant and soap for her students. There were nearly 3,000 gardening items delivered just in time for planting season by Ripple's donation. As you can see a quote right here. And 2,400 musical instruments. You can see a quote right there. All right, that brings me to the conclusion of this story that I wanted to share. And I want to reiterate that for the nonprofits in the room, I hope that what for us will be a once-in-a-lifetime donation. I don't think we're ever going to pull anything like this off again. But it did teach us the power of sharing a compelling story and the value of shooting for the moon once in a while. And I hope as well for the foundations and companies in the room, you'll be inspired to learn that Ripple's one-time $29 million donation did incredible things for small donor giving on our site. We honestly worried that when Ripple made this donation, that our community of citizen philanthropists would feel that one big company had made one big gift that kind of covered everything, and they, as people with $5 to give or $10 to give, could kind of stand down now. The opposite happened. In the weeks leading up to Ripple's donation, we were posting about 8% year-over-year growth in citizen donors giving to classroom projects. In the weeks since, 172% year-over-year growth in small donors giving to classroom projects because they were just so moved to see what Ripple had done. And we've seen a massive increase in teachers who've never before used our site creating projects on our site, a disproportionate number of them from rural, low-income communities, because news of this donation managed to get to the hardest to reach parts of America. So I feel like this might be an especially epic example, but it is actually a characteristic example of how a single major gift can actually inspire citizen giving and teacher entrepreneurial spirit all across the country. And I'll leave you with this one quote from one teacher. She's in the midst of a conversation with other educators. I'd like to say, after the shock wore off, this was my first thought, but the shock still hasn't worn off. Here I stand watching my tiny geniuses rest, looking around our classroom, thinking of all the wonderful things teachers just like me will be able to surprise our kiddos with because of y'all. I feel so guilty because no matter how hard I try to explain to them that a stranger helped to buy things we need that help us learn and grow, the kiddos keep telling me that I'm the best teacher ever. I always feel guilty for being proud and taking some credit, but wanted to take a minute to thank y'all again for giving me the chance to be the best teacher ever to over 380 students so far, because that is, thank you. Because that is actually the feeling that you give a teacher when someone who even has $50 to spare gives to that teacher's project. Like Elizabeth, so I'll pass it back to you.